What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Frenzy. No, it's been a while since we've seen everybody here, but how's everybody feeling tonight?
Good, and yourself?
There we go.
Doing the
Classic.
Bobby, doing the Bobby there.
Doing the Bobby. Somebody's got to hold the torch while he's not around, right? It's we miss him. That's all I can say is we miss him. And as people may notice, we also do not have the headman himself. Skelly is not with us tonight. He had something come up last minute, so unfortunately, he was not able to be here. However, we brought in the backup. We brought in the big guns. We have our good returning friend with us, Blake Wright. This man right down here, the man, the myth, the legend,
Yeah.
putting things in print you didn't even know you wanted until they were there.
Is up. Yeah, I'm like I was saying in the pregame, I'm getting over the flu this week, so I decided to get sick prior to Toy Fair instead of bringing it home. So hopefully I will have enough vitamin C in my system by the time I get to New York tomorrow to where I can stave off any other nasties that may be floating around the Javits Center. But happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Toy Fair Eve.
That's right. That's right. It's
Right.
it's officially shit. Sure happy it's Thursday.
That's right. It's the most wonderful time of the year
That's right.
as we get ready to figure out what our toy future looks like for the next 8 to 12 months at least.
Right. At least 8 to 12 months, and who knows where it'll be from there. I gotta say, it's just nice to have Toy Fair back.
Yeah, I mean it's an evolving show, right? There's a lot of where it used to be a lot of buyers coming in and writing purchase orders and a lot of cigars and shake hands and wink wink and let's do the 3 martini lunch. It's become a lot more of a kind of a media marketing event,
Right.
where they're just trying to get the word out about stuff, and most of the sales happen in the fall at the preview shows out west.
Right.
But I'm not saying they don't sell here. They will, of course.
Orders
It's just
placed.
yeah, it's just not the way it used to be.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know there's some companies that obviously don't go. I think this year I think the biggest company that would be action figure related that isn't there is Jax.
Ooh, okay.
And then companies like Jada, they're not there.
Yeah.
And then on the other, I guess the biggest on the girls' side is probably NGA. They won't be there. But everybody else will just about show. Mezco's not there on the Collectr side. They used to go every year, but they stopped in the last couple of years. They decided, I don't think we need to do this. So.
Well, they've certainly been bringing their A game for San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, and I think that's
like the other.
I think it's then they're looking at, and they do more shows where they can sell product now.
Right.
They just did that big con, the Mega Con down in Florida.
Yeah.
They were there. So I was like, well, that's interesting because I hadn't seen them do that show before.
But it seemed a little smaller scale for what you're used to kind of seeing them at. So
yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where why don't we just go someplace where we can sell some stuff too? It's like, oh, okay.
Makes sense.
So there you go.
It's the idea. The name of the game is making money. No matter how you want to look at it at the end of the day, it's making money.
Yeah.
So.
And Toy Fair is expensive. You got to set up, you got to track everybody. I mean, Mezco's local sort of, but for a West Coast company, you got to track everything. You got to track everybody over to New York. You got to bring your booth if it's not already there. Set up, hotel, food, you name it. Before it's over, you got 2 numbers in front of that comma, and the first one's crooked. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's one thing that a lot of people forget, that as my knowledge of more behind the scenes toy business goes, the more I have friends who are in the business more so now. These are things I start to think about, like, how much does it cost for all these guys to go to these shows? Because again, East Coast kind of gets spoiled, right? Because we got a lot of cons up and down the coast, and some of them can be a bit of a drive, but for the most part, they're all pretty close, right? But then you got guys that are located, again, Mattel, all the way out on the West Coast to come out and do a show here on the East Coast. That actually costs quite a bit. And I know they're a business that makes billions of dollars a year, but then you got to think of the small guy who doesn't make that same kind of money. And
Yeah.
you've got to pay that same kind of expense. And it's like, wow, that's actually pretty costly.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be able to make that kind of revenue back. Where again, for a company like Mezco, although they are again, a bigger company, they got a higher price point too. But you know, it makes more sense to them to go to a bunch of shows where they can actually sell product and kind of start immediately making that cost back versus some of these shows where it's really just kind of showing off the product that you have.
Right.
If you're not going to be placing like big bulk orders to retailers, it makes a little less sense. But again, it's just I was used to a certain way things went. You know, you always had Toy Fair, the first quarter of the year kind of thing, showing you off what's going to be going on basically down the road for that year. Then, you know, you get San Diego Comic-Con coming up at the back end of the year where it's going into, all right, this is everything new we're going to bring out, you know, right at the end of this year, going into next year for holidays. And then you get like a couple of trade shows after that where companies are placing those orders, especially for what's going into the next year. But that was kind of always the flow of things. So it was really odd when Toy Fair was like, we're going to do a show in the fall.
Yeah.
Just disappeared. And it was like, whoa, what's going on here? Like,
Yeah,
there was no time to display what you would normally see at the first part of last year. It was like,
yeah, the pandemic screwed a lot of things up, man.
Yeah,
it really did. I mean,
yeah.
and the knock-on effects of that thing are still being felt all over. A lot of these bankruptcies that you're seeing now, these retailer bankruptcies, a lot of it can be, you know, it can be traced back to
a couple of bad fiscal
went
years
down in
is hard
2020.
to recover from, right?
Yeah. So
Unless you were able to adapt to a more online type of business, a lot of brick and mortar retailers lost a lot those couple of years.
But it'll be interesting. I'm, you know, looking forward to getting out there and seeing what I have. I think at last count 17 appointments over 4 days. So it'll, you know, with just about everybody who's gonna showcase something new. So, and Hasbro's big event is Saturday night.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other Collectr Jazzwares. Their Collectr event is Sunday early evening. Excuse me. And I think those are really the only two that Playmates used to have a collectors event. They didn't do that this year. They're just offering. They just bringing everybody in.
They'll have everybody else do their events with Playmates product.
Single appointments. Yeah, but I like that better because, you know, you get the one-on-one touch. You don't have to have there's no mob mentality where everyone's having to be herded around and showing all the stuff. But we'll see. Should be good.
Yeah. Having been around the block a couple times for especially with video game conventions, GameStop managers conventions, very much that business convention style.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting herded from classroom to classroom to basically be able to sell the new product for the end of the year. And you get these cool breakout meetings a couple times a day where, you know, like one of the big companies comes and they talk to everybody all at once. But for the most part, you're in your smaller districts getting herded from one room to another room to another room on a very tight schedule. And you get a little bit of time to ask these guys questions, but not a lot because they got like a lot of scripts that they're basically told to tell you, and you just go for that script. So you can't really do a whole lot of Q&A with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. I mean, we all, like we were talking before, that we saw the first shoe drop already with Mattel getting the DC license back, and
right. We don't even get to day one at Toy Fair, and already the big news is starting to drop.
Which it was predicted that license was going to change hands, and so with the first shoe drop, and you got two more to see what happens with, of course, the Disney properties, Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe we won't learn anything this weekend. Maybe there'll still be a few
couple of mysteries come
2 weeks
mid-year.
off. Maybe we won't learn until summer. I don't know, but you'll feel it in the room, I'm sure, one way or another.
The toy world is going for a massive tectonic push with different players in the game moving forward. That's really what I'm getting the sense of this year. I mean, I don't know how much of that's really going to matter to me because I've been less involved with a lot of the big guys and getting more into the indie scene. And I mean, it's kind of what brings us here tonight. Actually, is the independent guys on the rise with different Kickstarters and such. You are actually going into this weekend going to be launching a Kickstarter right on the other half of that.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Doing
Sometimes
all this at the same
dates
time.
and schedules don't
Well,
line up the way you
I mean,
think they do in your head.
yeah, the idea. Well, first off, the idea was for me not to be sick all week and get a lot of stuff done ahead of all this.
Nobody plans.
Well, that didn't really get done quite. So, I'm looking at launching a Kickstarter on Sunday that I still don't have the video made for, among other things. So before I even stepped in here, I was trying to record this script, and so I could take the audio file with me to New York and
right.
paste something together. I mean, we had gone to Space Center Houston last weekend, and we cut all this footage, and it was going to be I was going to put together this really kind of cool.
Did you ask, or did you just sneaky film? I gotta ask per our last conversation.
Yeah, we sneaky filmed, but we didn't really approach anybody. But it was cool because there was this one section of this thing about there's one of the sections right now that's about Artemis. We're going back to the moon, and there's an actual little kiosk that says "Ask an Astronaut," and it says, the team, blah 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 blah, is preparing to, return to the moon. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask? Just please submit them here, and we'll put them on the board, and we'll have them answer them, and you'll see it on the big screen or whatever. And so we filmed the thing where it says "Ask the question," and then we panned down to this thing that we had brought of a very grainy picture of the moon, and Moonman Zero kind of peeking around this big rock formation, and it says at the bottom, "Have you seen this moon man?" So we did it to where that was like, ask us a question, and then we panned down, well, okay, have you seen this moon man? And we were going to put this little mystery music behind it and all this stuff, and we had big plans, but it ain't happening. So we'll try again next time.
Definitely. Well, as we've started to get some more people in here, I definitely want to jump back and say hello to some of our friends in the chat who have shown up. Allison Troy was here with us from the start, saying, "What a handsome panel of gentlemen." I don't know what show she's watching.
Yeah, she's not watching this.
She's multitasking.
She's got to be multitasking and just typed in the wrong chat. That's got to be it right there. We have Nolan with us here, which you guys know that means we are officially Toy Tube. We have the Thanos Copter saying, "My normal on, hey friends," which I appreciate. Spread that around. I like that. And we have Ronald Embry. So even though Skelly isn't here, we have his name twin here with us tonight. And Kenzo's Creations coming off of a hot live last night. This man has been doing it up each and every week, Wednesday nights. He's going live, building up some watch hours. He's been doing a fantastic job trying to, build up that consistency each and every week. I'm proud of you, Kenny. You've been doing amazing. And we have our good friend, Eternian Royalty, Mike. I know he was one of the first people today at 12 p.m. noon, signed up for Club Grayskull. No questions asked. He was just like, done. Club Grayskull. All right. So, Moonman Zero. We're about to launch this Kickstarter coming up here.
Yeah, we are.
I know we've been really excited about it here at the Frenzy. We had you come on, talk about it pretty early on to make the announcement you're actually doing the Kickstarter. And then we said we were going to follow up right before we were going to get started. I know I've had you on Clubhouse. We had you on Let's Go Off World talking this thing up, man. The closer we keep getting, the more and more excited I get. And you always have like these little reveals that you like to toss up and show us.
Yeah,
And you'd sent me something here just a little bit ago. I
I
don't
did.
know. Am I allowed to share that live here or?
You are, but hold off on a second.
Yeah, no, not a
just
problem. Then we'll hold off on showing that because that is a thing of beauty, by the way.
yeah, that is the standard cover. That's going to be the standard cover to the.
Why you got to do this? You're going to be the first person since Toddy Mac to make me go buy multiple covers of the same issue. That's
Yeah.
okay.
We just got our new stickers in today, though, which I really like. It's the same as the T-shirt design that we're going to do. So we've got
Ooh,
these cool
yes.
stickers
Oh, I
that
dig it.
are going to be part of the deluxe award package. Yeah, they turned out really good.
I really like that.
I
Yeah.
was happy to see that. And then yeah, with forever, I've been saying we're going to have 3 variant covers and a standard cover to this thing.
Yeah.
And I've only ever shown the 2 covers because that's all I've had. I was supposed to receive the 3rd variant cover today, according to an email the artist sent earlier this morning. Still hadn't landed, but it could very well land while we're sitting there, we're talking.
Even
so
better. Breaking news for
so
once.
there's
That's
that.
pretty impressive.
And then I got what you have is the inked version of what's going to be the standard issue cover done by Chad Shodel. So the guy who's done all of the art also did this cover. And we had the teaser image. He did the teaser of Moonman Zero on his comm with the world, and he's on top of the moon with the flag. That he pitched as the original cover, and I was like, you know what? I like that, but I like it more as a teaser for what's coming.
Right.
I said, well, let me show you what I had in mind. And so I kind of wiped the bottom of that clean, and I drew a variant of Walleye. My wife loves Jaws. Okay, the movie. The movie's what 50 years old this year. So as an homage to Jaws and as a kind of a wink and a kiss on the cheek to my wife, I sent this cover concept to Chad, and now you can reveal what he has done.
This is so cool, and I love it.
And so this is just the inked drawing. He's going back to digitally color it.
That is great. And for people who may not recognize what this is here, this is Walleye. Right?
Yeah,
I see the monocle
Jaws.
in there. So that's Walleye as Jaws. Again, the leader of the crappie horde here, and just doing that coming up underneath of Moonman on the moon. We got the little half circle moon. This is phenomenal. It's great. It's got like that little DreamWorks element with the moon here and the fishing, and then Jaws.
And if you look really close, Grimaldi's the bait, so he's got the little snail is on the hook.
Oh, you know what? It won't let me zoom in the way I have it here.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do see it right there. Yeah. That's Grimaldi. Okay, I didn't notice that at first, but now that you mentioned,
I didn't notice it either until I was like, look, I went, oh, I see that.
So you managed to get all the elements in there again, kind of.
Pretty much, yeah. So he's coloring.
Phenomenal. I love.
He's coloring that tonight, so that should be something to see when he's done there.
Oh man!
But yeah, that again, like I said, that was a kind of an homage both to Jaws and the fact that my wife loves that movie. So yeah, that will be the standard cover.
Very nice.
For the graphic novel. And now we are just about, once I get this other cover, I think we have everything to be able to move forward. I'm still doing a few little bits for the deluxe for the deluxe package, like the stickers. We're doing a Moonbase Zeta key card. So it's going to be like you'll have an access pass to the Moonbase. I designed that the other day and sent it out for quote. See how much it would cost to have a bunch of those printed up. And I think that was the last. Oh, we're doing a limited edition print too of the teaser poster minus all the text. So again,
Okay.
that shot of Moonman with him coming out of the comm on the moon with the flag, that's going to be a limited edition print. That's going to also be signed by me and Chad and be part of the deluxe set.
That's really exciting. I like that.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't set is stretch goals, mainly because I just want the goal. I don't necessarily need a ton more. But basically what I'll end up doing is basically said that, if we get, for every $2,000 more or $1,500 more, you'll just get a bigger book. We can add more behind the scenes stuff and how earlier renditions of this thing, because like I've said before, this thing has been around for 17 years. So there's no shortage of, I still have the very first Moonman Zero I ever drew. And it's, totally heinous looking thing, but that's where it came from. So the roots are honest. My wife apparently has the very first picture of a walleye I drew, which was on the back of a bank envelope or something. It's just how stuff gets done. You never realize, what you're doing until sometimes much, much later. It's like, oh, hell, I did that a long time ago. But I had this book, this totally crappy sketchbook, and I was using this total crappy soft lead pencils on it. So it is all but just disintegrated. Because once those pages start rubbing together, it goes everywhere. I did manage to scan the entire thing in before it pretty much self-imploded. So I do have scans of all of the original Moonman Zero sketchbook. I wasn't putting it together. I wasn't doing it for posterity. I was just doing it to, better define some of these characters and what they look like, and maybe what they act like, and what some of their vices are, what some of their motivations
you want
are.
that evolution, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool when you have a place where you can actually kind of go back and track, where did this come from? Where did this come from?
Tycho probably had the biggest jump in look. Early Tycho looked like he was related to Rosie from the Jetsons. Really, he looked like a cross between Rosie and the big smiley spaceship from Heavy Metal, the one the two aliens are on. And then I decided, instead of having all these weird circles and bells and whistles on him, he just needed to be utilitarian looking. And so he was very cylindrical and not very, didn't have a lot of antennae or radars or anything like that. He was just a tin can pretty much, because he was meant to be a war bot. So he was a soldier. So he wasn't supposed to have all this crap on him.
Well, yeah,
so
like the galactic battle droids, very plain, very standard.
Yeah,
just a killing marching machine.
Yeah, he didn't really have anything. And then Walleye pretty much was the same premise. Just better artists have taken cracks at him over time. Grimaldi had different looks going back and forth. He's been the hardest. I mean, he's a snail, right? He's just a big snail.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's really hard to capture the right look with him.
Okay.
And what Chad has done has been fine, but it's still something totally different than what I did or what any other artist I've seen has done. Um, we also there was uh, a later version, a mid version of Grimaldi that actually had eye stalks, like a snail does.
Okay. So
Instead of
kind of
having
like
the eyes on the body, he didn't
right.
have he didn't having the antenna without the eyes. He just had the eye stalks. Um, and that just looked creepy to me for
Yeah, I
whatever
was gonna
reason.
say that's
I,
gonna be
as a cartoon, I couldn't make that work. Because it wasn't SpongeBob or something. It wasn't something
right.
hyper stylized. It was,
And
it's
you see,
more.
what I like about this too is it does make a more distinct look, because if he had the eye stalks with the eyes on it, then I would have just felt like, okay, so that is Gary. That's SpongeBob. Like that's
Yeah,
it would have had that automatic translation to that. So I'm glad this way it's a little bit more individualized with how he
yeah.
comes out.
And for
And
some
honestly,
reason,
I just love that look.
yeah, and for some reason, the even with the eye stalks, when I drew him out and he was talking or whatever, he looked more like a frog. He didn't look like a snail anymore. So I was
Okay.
like, well, I said, that's weird.
Yeah.
Um, but you would think that you would, there would be like, okay, it's a snail, draw the snail, and that's it. But I mean, a lot of different people draw snails different. And since he is a giant class moon mollusk, he can look however you want him to look.
That's the fun part of
Because
working in fiction. It doesn't
because that's
have
not
to
real.
stay
Yeah.
and sci-fi has just been the playground for all kinds of tomfoolery when it comes up to making up whatever, putting pseudo space language, sciency language in front of it, and you're just good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was all these characters have been a joy to live with for all this time. I'm just happy that we're right there at the finish line. I just got the last page of art for this whole thing sent to me today. We're gonna have to do the last two pages have to change and become 3 pages, but
Oh wow. Okay.
other than that, we're there. And
That's awesome.
we just sent the first half of it's already lettered. We're sending the second half minus those 3 pages to the letterer today. And so the thing will pretty much be done by the end of next week, I would hope.
That's amazing.
Or maybe into the, by mid-month, by mid-March, it'll be done. And then I get to send it out to the folks who I was going to send it out to try to get some opinions, B, some quotes we can put on the back of the book, saying,
Makes sense.
what people think, praise for Moonman Zero or general thoughts for Moonman Zero, or these people read
Based
Moonman
Odyssey
Zero.
2001, but who cares?
Yeah. Well, so, my favorite one is like, of all the graphic novels I've read this year, this is certainly one of them.
I
hope someone says that
because I actually haven't read any graphic
I
novels
will
this year.
put that on the back if someone said that.
See, I gotta say, I haven't read any graphic novels this year. You send it to me, I could tell you.
There you go.
This is the best graphic novel I've read this year.
Yeah,
I could say that. It'd be a fact
because I haven't read one this year.
I haven't read anything else yet.
So. Automatically the best and the worst all in one.
Absolutely. No, well, I don't have to add that second part there. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's truth. Truth hurts, man. Sometimes
truth can hurt, and I'm certainly not going to sugarcoat it. But
yeah,
no.
But I hope we were able to do a diverse enough package where people will be interested in it. $25 for what ends up probably being an 84-page book, more or less, once we add all the extras. Maybe it's a little steep, but you get.
I don't know.
You get your first taste of what we're trying to do, and you get your it's a full, complete story. So you're not, we didn't split it to where, you have to wait on, 2 years for a second book to come out to figure out what happens with Walleye. and all that stuff. So it'll hopefully it'll, and ultimately this is the first time I've done this. So
Right. This is your first graphic novel
as a writer. Yeah. So it may come back and everybody's like, yeah, man, this is your first book. It's like, yeah, it showed. You really screwed this up.
It's all practice for that cryptids project you got coming out.
Yeah, maybe so. But you notice we're not writing that script; we're storyboarding it instead.
That's a different process entirely.
Yeah,
That's not going to be right. But
so we'll see. It's one of those things where 100% of what you don't put out there fails, or what's that old saying? You gotta put it out in the world and see if anybody really takes to it. And maybe I'm not a very good graphic novel writer.
But at least you're trying to have fun. And
right.
You know what? You've accomplished so many different things. Just hearing your story and what you put out there, the toys that time forgotten, starting with something like that, getting into putting out and publishing a print toy magazine, which I don't think anybody ever thought we'd see one of those again. And doing it to a point where I remember when we first had you on and we were talking about it, you were just getting everything out of your garage and you weren't getting it into, we could contact our local like collectible shops, comic book shops, and get them to order it kind of thing and get it in. But like you hadn't even been set up where you were going into Barnes and Noble yet. And you've accomplished that since then.
Right.
And BBTS has agreed to take all your back stock so you can get your back orders, your back issues from BBTS. That's huge because now, like, hey, just get it to those guys and they're going to get rid of it for me. It's great. So like, what you've accomplished with that and then moving on to this next project, what else is coming down the line? Like your plate, you got tons of plates you're juggling and you've been doing really well.
Well, one of these things has to stick eventually, right? So you figure it's like you throw enough stuff at the wall, something's gonna stick. I mean, we're working on issue 17 of Toy Collector, so we're getting ready to roll into our 4th year. It doesn't seem possible, but I
think you were doing issue number 3 when we had you on that first time. So 17, man, that's. I was gonna say, I even know certain somebody's got some article.
Yeah, he's definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know it's gone downhill. Just gonna let anybody write.
That's right. That's right. We're at the bottom of the barrel, going, oh, who's that? What's battle
internet
bug.
bloggers?
Battle bugs. Let's call this guy. Hey, battle bug. What's happening? But no, it's because of people like Adam that's allowed me to put out such a diverse product. Because I am not I'm not well versed in every damn line that's out there, but there are people like Adam who specialize in things. And thank you very much for everything you did for that particular piece. It was great.
Thank you.
So yeah, it sometimes it is who I will actually have some substantial toy collector news next week. I can't say anything about it right now.
That's all good because we'll be listening in.
Yeah, it'll be announced post. It'll be announced at Toy Fair, kind of to individuals, but it'll be announced in general later.
So I'm gonna be at ZoloCon this weekend. On Saturday, I'm gonna be at ZoloCon, and it's funny because now that you said that, I'm just gonna be checking my phone every 5 minutes for Twitter.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're at ZoloCon, do me a favor and go buy, is it Figure Fiend Toys, and buy those damn Krull figures for me. I appreciate it.
Sure.
He's probably sold out. Have you seen those things? They're really good.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely been looking. There is a lot of really, really good stuff going on at ZoloCon
Yeah.
this weekend, man. So many good exclusives and everything. I may not talk up much, in the highest regard, but Valor versus Steel Brigade with the back metal. I'm sorry, that figure looks cool as hell. You got the Headhunter from the Four Horsemen going to be there. That's really cool. I'm excited to go see and talk to the guys at Skeletron for the first time. Our good friends,
Yeah.
Jason Awok. Man,
I don't know if Ben Conway's going to be there himself, one of the Skeletron guys. But if Ben's there, tell him I said hello for sure.
yeah, will do.
He's good. He's good people.
That Ken was telling me, he goes, you got to stop by the Skeletron booth. You got to stop by the Skeletron booth. I was like, all right, I'll head over that way. I'll
That
head
Robo
over.
Skull is crazy.
It is one of the coolest toys I've ever
It
seen.
is
And
crazy.
I mean, first off, a lot of people know I love skulls. Like, that's just one of my things. So now you got a TIE fighter that is a damn skull, basically.
That's
It was the
basically what you
original
got.
model.
Yeah.
And what they did with this one, it just takes it to a whole nother level, man. And that's one of those toys where it's like, I wouldn't know where to put it. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to be putting a bear in about a year's time.
What's so cool is, you've got one ship that caters to two scales.
Two scales, because it's
So
got the cockpit for the
are you 3
6-inch.
3/4? It's like, great. Here you go. Dual
Chuck
cockpit for you
that
guys.
out.
You
Drop
got,
2 3 3/4 in there.
yeah, you don't want you're 6-inch guy. Okay, pop. There you go. Your 6-inch is now flying. So yeah, it was very forward thinking of those guys to make that adjustment.
It was a great idea, and
yeah,
it shows that they had the forethought to be like, okay, well, if we can fit one 6-inch scale figure in here, how can we make it so that we can convert it to that and sell double the audience?
Right. And it made me think, like, if someone at Hasbro or Mattel, like, were looking on to that and just went, huh.
Right?
Like,
right? Like they were trying with Eternia to make it kind of cater to both scales. They were like, well, see, you can fit your 7-inch Masterverse figures here. Like, barely. Like, do you remember the original story about how they had to duck He-Man under the door? That's all you just did for a 7-inch scale. But they were like, oh man, don't even get me started on that New Point Dread. Oh man, that messes. How did you not measure that right? You can't have a figure stand up in Point Dread. Got to hunch over, use a smaller stature figure for that. Now.
Yeah, they're always shrinking that because, like in the classics line, it was originally like a good 4 inches taller or 5 inches taller, and they shrunk that one down too.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Like, guys, we want to be able to put our figures in there. The original one, we could fit our figures in it just fine. It was a little tall, even. Like, there's no need to save yourself that much plastic. If, like I said, if I put it on top of one of my Castle Grayskull towers now, I can't even have somebody stand inside the Castle Grayskull tower.
It's for Gwildors only.
That's it. Gwildors and Orcos. That's
Orcos.
The dream team right there.
There you
go.
Like Bill Murray and Bugs Bunny on Space Jam. Dream team. So we did get a question here in the chat that I wanted to bring up for you. Our good friend Thanos Copter is asking, have you booked a coloring session with our good friend Allison Troy, the Retro Toy Princess, for your Kickstarter YouTube tour?
I don't know what that means.
So Allison Troy, she has a coloring page on YouTube. She does live streams with guests. She'll do solo coloring where she takes a lot of retro vintage coloring books, cleans them up, and then she invites guests on and you color together and you talk about things. And I've made it a point the last couple years that they Cabal Creations coloring books that they've done for Legion's Con. I've made sure to pick those up. So it's not even just retro stuff. She's got new stuff. If you were to send her some black and white Moonman Zero images, you could sit down and have a nice coloring day with her. She normally does Sundays. But she says we could probably arrange that. So if you want to reach out and do a live stream for coloring, that might be fun.
Yeah, I'm not against that. I can color real good. I used to be able to do it in the lines and everything. It's been a minute, but you know.
Hey, look, our good friend of Punk with Toys, Lawrence, he did it with crowns. He colored very old school with crowns one time. It's beautiful. It's fun.
I went on there and I used crayons because that's what I could find.
See,
that's right. If you're gonna do it right.
I get all technical and I use my art pad and everything like that, and I get all digital with it. But see, the problem is I go and I do all that, and I don't even finish while we're streaming. I end up finishing later.
I gotta be like the rich kid from elementary school that had this 64-pack Crayolas with the sharpener in the center. You know that prick. Remember that prick?
Oh yeah, I remember that guy because I was always jealous until I years later when I got my own job and I had mine.
That's right.
And by then they'd again quadrupled to 128 box with the sharpener.
It was a 64 box, but he only used the same 3 crayons because he's too busy eating the other ones.
I was gonna say he was always eating the other ones because he didn't know what else to do with them.
Ridiculous.
3 or 4 of them stuck up his nose, a couple in his ears.
I remember that dude. I wonder what he's doing now.
He's probably still eating crowns.
Probably the CEO of the Crayola company.
I was gonna say either that or he's a CEO somewhere, upper management at Walmart. Even I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what those guys get. So Adam's looking him up. I can tell Adam's looking him up. What happened to that dude that was eating crowns in art class?
In my class, there was a guy who ate paste, and his name was Chad. And that was my experience with Chads. Always
was it Cincinnati? Was he in Cincinnati? Where was he?
No, that was Washington State.
Okay, so probably not my Chad.
Yeah,
I was
gonna say I'm surprised it wasn't Ohio.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I was trying to think. There's always the goofy kid in art class that can't quite find the canvas with the art supplies, but can find his mouth for some reason.
Every time. Yeah. I mean, hey, look, I don't judge it. I was pretty harsh back then, but see, I had a lot of unpopular friends. Basically, they were a lot of the nerdy kids that get picked on by bullies. So I quickly got a reputation for being the bully of the bullies. The bullies came after my friends. I didn't necessarily like it. So I was the one that picked up the bullies. Yeah, I picked them up, put them in trash cans, and rolled them down hills.
Good on you.
Yeah, somebody had to step up for those guys. He-Man taught me how to do it.
That's right. Oh, speaking of He-Man, not that I want to divert.
Too much, right? I mean, we're known for talking about He-Man here. So,
but did everyone see the poster tease of the sword and young Hoo-Ha's body and the shot with the leather bits and everything?
When they first cast this guy, I was like, there's going to be a heavy CGI element here for the transformation. I don't just mean the transformation.
Right.
But they put him on one of those fast track diets that they can do for Hollywood celebrities. And then I saw the next images of him where he'd filled out quite a bit. And I'm like, geez. So then the pink shirt images dropped, which I enjoyed that nod, by the way.
I did too.
Say what they're going to say. I'm sorry. It calls right back to Filmation. It calls right back to the old toy. Pink shirt or not, rock it, dude. Go for it. And I was like, this dude got jacked in a little bit of time. And then when they showed, I guess that's going to be the poster. I don't know.
Is it part of a teaser poster or something, maybe?
I don't know if that's going to be the poster, but he did the work, man. He is ripped now from what you can see on that. And I got to say, they nailed that power sword.
The sword looks great. Yeah, I mean, that's the one. I think that's the one takeaway, and I think that's what they're basically putting those images out there for you to say.
Yeah, if nothing else.
If you don't like the kid, fine. If you don't like
the sword,
his spray tan, fine. But look at that damn sword. They did that.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I was kind of I am impressed that they didn't like somebody didn't try to make it like, oh, I'm going to redesign it from the ground up and make it my own, which you see a lot in these kind of
Yeah.
things.
That's kind of what happened in the 87 movie. The thing looked more like Conan's sword than He-Man's power sword. At least that's how I always felt, you know, like it never, the 87 movie sword never really did it for me. I didn't quite care for it.
So it'll be interesting to see if we see anything else this weekend.
Yeah.
Because Mattel, I mean, when I visited Mattel last fall, they had just announced Idris Elba, I think,
Right.
as Duncan. And all the PR people were buzz about, you know, we just have a few more announcements, and then, you know, it's gonna we're rolling. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be the next big thing. This movie's happening. Blah blah blah. And even when they were announcing, you know, legit stars for this thing, people are still going, "Nah, you're not making."
I'll believe it when I see it. Right?
Yeah.
How many times have we gotten to that step in the past?
It's like,
So and so cast
you're
as
not
He-Man. So and
making
so
this
cast
movie.
as Skeletor. It's got this director. Like, I don't care. I've heard this. You know, I've seen this show and dance several times already.
So we've got this glimpse. We got that weird archaic glimpse of He-Man. So do we get that for the cast? Do we see a little bit of a purple halter top or something for Evil Lynn? Do we see?
Okay, you said Evil Lynn. I thought we were going Venice Beach Skeletor here, the Terror Claw.
No, do we get the kind of maybe the shade Skeletor thing where he's kind of turned, you know, looking,
right,
you know, where you
see
get a
little
bit of the skull face.
So my question is, this is like has been the battleground for people who redesign He-Man in comics over the last 10 years. Is he going to wear furry trunks, or is he going to wear pants? That's the question.
You know, I think a big part of that is going to kind of be decided by the test markets. And again, I don't give Nightlick a lot of credit, but he did say one of the big things that Mattel found when they did the 2000X line, the kids didn't resonate with He-Man as well because he was running around in furry, like, it didn't make sense to them why he was basically running around topless in these furry underwear. We all grew up in a time where sword and sorcery was big, and there was a lot of that kind of imagery out there between Frazetta's art, Boris Vallejo, like a lot of these different fantasy artists with sword and sorcery. You're always seeing like semi-naked barbarian people somewhere, you know, with a coffee table book or some kind of magazine or something. Like that imagery was out there a lot at the time. So it was kind of like predisposed with us, like, okay, that's what barbarians look like these half-naked fur-covered people kind of thing. And you know, then it's like 2000X comes around and these kids are all like used to watching maybe more of that anime stylized thing where people have a bit more clothes on, or, you know, something like that, or they've got like more technological looking attire or armor. So I don't think it resonated as well. Now, if they're trying to recruit newer audiences to this, new fans, so that we can be talking about Motu 40 years from now with new fans who have come into their own with it, I think you may want to go some kind of route like that. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, if Barbie's the barometer for all this, then I don't necessarily think they made that movie for any of today's kids. I don't think they made that movie for kids, period.
No.
You know, that wasn't a very adult film. It just happened to be about a toy.
I will say
going to the gynecologist. Remember, that's how that movie ended.
I want them to look at getting new eyes on the property for the longevity of it.
Yeah.
But I hope they definitely, like, again, I'm a fan that they already showed. I know there's a lot of people are saying they don't want it on Earth. I'm not a big fan of the idea of it being on Earth.
Well, it starts on Earth, so
I'm hoping it starts on Earth and is a very short time on Earth, and then we get taken back to Eternia very quickly, not for 5 minutes post-battle scene.
What I understand, and this is not me speaking from any secret bit of knowledge. It's just what I've kind of gleaned from stuff I picked up and reading and talking with people who should know. This is very much kind of a movie like Hook was to Peter Pan.
Cool.
So
15, 20 minutes and
he's on Earth and he doesn't know his He-Man connection.
Right.
Or he forgets or however, or whatever.
Yeah, that's the synopsis I've
seen. And the sword basically comes back into play and basically, I don't know if it tells him or if the sorceress comes to him or whatever through the sword and says, Adam, we need you back here. What's back here? You're home. What's home? It's like, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Eternia and all that stuff. So, from what I understand, that's how it plays out. And so, I don't know what the split is, Earth to Eternia. I would guess you'd probably get no more than the first 30 minutes on Earth before you switch. But I'm not saying you don't come back and go back and forth.
Well, sure, because they've also introduced some new characters that are not Eternian at all, really.
Yeah, I don't think Susie is Eternian,
right? Like I'm not thinking,
I'm sure she's like Julie and Kevin, like from
Julie and Kevin again,
right.
So, and again, that's kind of a neat spin on it too. Like I'm okay with that. Either way, I'm just excited that this movie's actually here. Like, we have not been this far along with a Motu movie since the 87 movie.
Yeah.
So, like, at this point, I am legitimately excited that this thing is coming.
And you'll probably end up getting what I would assume would be, what's the street date for this thing? Next summer? The 2026?
Yeah, July 2026, I thought.
So, yeah, you'll get a teaser trailer at Comic-Con this year.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like, I know they are in
and
full
that may be where they give you your first Skeletor reveal, actually.
Yeah.
They'll want to hold something. And Leto is Skeletor. Everyone's like, oh, my. Well, Jared Leto's a really good actor, but it just seems like
Allison was saying he's so method, he may just burn his face off to a skull.
Sometimes they lean on him a little hard. I didn't like the sound of the casting when they cast him for Tron Ares. Of course, I hadn't seen Tron Ares yet, so I don't know if that's going to pan out. I didn't really like it when they said he was going to be Skeletor. I think maybe because of his stature, and Skeletor is not built like Jared Leto.
Right, like all these guys are supposed to kind of be buff, right? Like that was the thing. All the He-Man dudes were like supposed to be big buff guys.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any pictures of Jared Leto bulking up.
Yeah, no, and and maybe Skeletor CGI. We don't know.
He could be. Yeah, might just be voice acting it.
Yeah,
could be voice acting, mocap. I mean, we have had Jared Leto in. I don't know if I want to say too similar of a role, but with most recently with like Morbius. When they first announced him as Morbius, I was crazy excited for that because Morbius, I'm a big fan of that character. I like vampires. So I was a huge fan of that character. Unfortunately, the writers that had a hold of that movie they made a mediocre vampire movie out of, like the next biggest vampire solo comic next Blade. And that was kind of a letdown overall. But, I'm thinking hopefully with this one, I don't know. Leto's of a decent age where I think he could have been a fan in his younger days. And typically I feel that people who are fans of the property are going to want to do it justice. So, and of his age, I think he'd be all right. See, I told you. Allison said it. He might just melt his own face off. Might just melt it. We never know. He is that method. He actually lost an arm in Requiem for a Dream, and then he grew it back because he's a lizard person too. So,
well, there you go. Did he win? Yeah. Okay. So he's an Oscar-winning actor.
Yeah.
He won for Dallas Buyers Club. I thought he did. So, you know, I don't remember the 87 film having a, well, maybe Frank Langella.
Frank Langella. I don't know if he'd won an Oscar at the time of the movie, but
yeah.
I think he did after the fact. Either way, honestly, he brings so much gravitas to his role. It didn't matter who else was in the movie with him. Probably between him and Meg Foster's Evelyn eyes, her eyes as Evelyn were just, that's enough that should have you hooked on that movie alone. The two of them. Nobody else even needs to be there. I think a lot of people wrote it off like Wildor wasn't there.
Hey, man, let's not talk smack about Billy Barty. All right.
We really shouldn't, because honestly, he was great. And he's got some of the best lines in the whole movie.
Yeah,
he does.
Great.
Most quotable. Moo.
I'm looking at Leto's, whatever, his filmography. I've seen him in stuff. I just don't remember any of his performances. Like nothing. Like it's all kind of gone.
Not even his starring role in Fight Club, where he just got his face pounded in and nothingness. Really.
Yeah,
a lot of people remember him from that, at least.
Yeah, for the record, Frank Langella was nominated for one Academy Award. That was in 2008 for his role in Frost Nixon. He did not win.
So he did not win, and that was well after 87. So there we go. There we go. Already the cast of this movie is beating out the cast of the old movie.
Although I will say that Frank Langella's Skeletor was, Thanos is right. It was probably
without
the best. It was the best thing about that movie.
It really
because
was.
he took it dead serious, and with all that other crap that was going on around him, he was probably going, "What did I get myself into here?"
Being so used to the over the top Alan Oppenheimer, the witty one-liners and everything that we get from the cartoon at that time, Frank Langella is absolutely terrifying as Skeletor. Like just terrifying. And the makeup, man, I know a lot of people are like, it doesn't really look like a skull. Like, yeah, okay, guys, fine. It doesn't really look like a skull. This looks scarier. Like, this guy is somebody you could legit have nightmares about, other than random skull in a purple hood.
Yeah, I would be really interested in somebody going back and like just doing like CGI, like glowing green over his eyes, and see what that looks like, because I bet it's fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah,
because everything else was there. I mean, the human eyes did take a bit, not necessarily take away from it, but took it in a different direction. It was pulled you out of it maybe a little bit. But
New Adventures was the
if
worst.
Somebody would CGI those eyes and put that movie back out, you'd be like, holy crap.
Maybe like a little bit, like, because like the original Skeletor design, he was like more of a kind of a mummy-ish zombie kind.
Right.
But like I felt like the mask in the 87 movie, they could have had a little bit more like color shading. It was very pale.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was sometimes a little too brightly lit. Like it could have been in a little more shadowed. You know?
He looked like he was a member of Moonman Shots. Anybody remember that reference? Anybody got that reference?
No.
One more time.
So they look like he was a member of Moonman Shots. You know what that is?
No, I didn't even.
Oh, you have to look it up.
Am I
really that old? Anybody remember the Muppet Show?
I do remember the Muppet Show. I used to watch it a lot.
Okay, there was a German troupe of mime artists that had moldable masks on their face, and they were always stretching in them and doing them in different features, making them smile, or horns and all this weird stuff. And sometimes they had toilet paper rolls. It was a German mime act, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But but his face, that white makeup sometimes looked like he could just start pulling it in all these different directions if he wanted to, like Taffy.
Oh man, yeah, and that's exactly how that makeup looked. They could have done a bit more detailing around it, and really just a wash, and like you said, put in a little bit more shadow.
We could have, should have, would have that movie to death.
Yeah, we also
yeah.
We didn't have to work on limited budgets that we're never really gonna have.
It's kind of funny because, like, I think most of us who were kids who watched it, not everybody, especially if you were younger, you might have been okay with it. But like, oh, this doesn't look like Skeletor. This doesn't look like He-Man. But if you look at the auctions for some of those costumes, they're just beautifully designed, like super ornate, just amazing designs. They did deviate, of course, from the source material, but they are works of art.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the figures that Mattel was able to do off those designs were really some of my favorite stuff that they've done in the line.
Blade was one of my favorite figures of the original line. He looks absolutely amazing in classics, and I can't wait to see how he's going to look in Masterverse. And I would say that I can't wait to see how he's going to look in Origins. But again, he's going to look like the vintage version, just with more articulation.
Yeah,
right.
Like they're not gonna really do outside of the norm for how he's going to look. They might do up a couple of, extras or something, like with the way his armor works, but he's really going to look like the vintage figure. So, I mean, like, I know what to expect from that. And that is, again, one of the big ones on my list for the last several vintage figures that need to come down the line is Blade. I loved him as a kid, and I'm really excited because I know he's on the list for Masterverse coming out, at least cinematic wise. Not like a new Eternia version or anything like that. The cinematic version's coming out, and that's good enough for me, even if we don't get a new Eternia Blade.
I'm partially
out on Masterverse now. Damn it.
I recently got the vintage Saurod just because I
wanted to set your carpet on fire.
Wanted to set the carpet on fire. If I ever take up smoking, I could light a cigarette with it, maybe.
Oh, don't talk about smoking, Adam. This is not the week to talk about it.
Sorry.
I'm quitting.
Sorry. Oh, I won't even say it again, ever.
I'm quitting, and this has not been an easy week.
Well, good for you, Oz.
I've been trying to do everything I could to change my habits. I've started exercising again, like every day after work now. I was already kind of taking walks, but to break the mentality and the habit of every day when I'd get off of work, the routine, the mentality was I hop out of this chair, run outside my carport because it's covered and I can smoke out there no matter what the weather is. And I'd go sit in a recliner underneath the carport and smoke for like an hour before I'd really get to do anything. So changing and breaking these habits of how I normally do things is really what's helping make the change to trying not to think about this as much.
Yeah.
But I totally get what you're saying, because I definitely would have tried to light a cigarette off of Sauron. I was one of the few people that wasn't smoking in the 80s. So,
well, save the money that you would have spent on cigarettes and buy a Sauron.
Best of luck, and watch your bank account continue to grow when you don't have to pay for smokes every other day.
You see, that's going to be the thing. The bank account's not going to grow. It's going to stay just as broke, but the amount of toys that I'm going to end up getting is going to increase, because I'm just I replace one addiction with another. So,
well, I like the ratio swing of the toys versus the cigarettes. So
me too, because you know what? The toys are not going to kill me.
That's right.
Hopefully. I don't know, that dragon.
Unless you get a Sauron.
Sauron will. Yeah,
all comes back.
Right.
It all comes back round circle.
Or if you start collecting, what are the lawn darts? Watch out for the lawn
darts.
Oh man, when are they bringing those back? I think we need to call the herd a little bit. They should really bring those back.
Right.
No warning labels attached, kids. Just go have fun and you go outside. You figure it out what you're supposed to do with these.
Bring back lawn darts and bring back the Cylon Raider from the 70s.
That one will actually explode on people. That'd be great.
You just don't fire the missile into your mouth. It'll be fine. So this will be an interesting weekend.
It's gonna be big.
I don't think we'll see any Masters movie stuff pop up at Toy Fair, but you never know. Because they are
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing an event per se. They're doing tours, but they're hosting individually. They're not having a big crowd thing. So that kind of tells me that they're not going to do any kind of, big presentation, but there could be, a little poster or a little graphic or something like that, just kind of off to the side kind of thing when you walk through the Motu area.
At the German,
because let's face it, the cast is out.
Yeah.
The movie's being made. If you're trying to day and date these toys, you're making them pretty quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've got a little over a year.
Yeah.
And I know Mattel they've had their production line in a while, but considering we really just finished up casting not too long ago, if they're going to be doing likenesses to the movie, and I imagine we're going to get Masterverse versions of these characters, just kind of like how they launched Masterverse with Revelations, that we'll probably see at least one or two characters per wave of Masterverse, closer to the launch of the movie. But like you said, we don't have a whole lot of time between now and then. And they've had to have this plan in place for a bit, but still.
And maybe the plan isn't to day and date the stuff. I mean, a lot that used to be very popular to have the toys out when the movie's out, that sort of thing. But it's kind of become a lost art in the world of now that we're streaming.
Look at stuff like
everything.
Jurassic Park and Ninja Turtles or Transformers. They launch these lines right around the time the movies, when kids should be getting most hyped and want to go out and buy all these toys.
Yeah.
And what's still sitting on the shelves? Same Ninja Turtles and Transformers and Jurassic Park stuff. Yeah. At least that's really what I see around my way. So who knows what the right call on that really is anymore? Because the landscape has changed with how this stuff goes.
Yeah. But what else you got? Oz? Anything?
So I mean, really, for me, normally this spot's supposed to be about you, Blake. So
oh, okay. But it's enough about me. Let's talk about me.
Yeah, there we go. Either way, again, I'm excited for new Motu. I know at the German toy show that they did, for like the retailers and the companies and stuff like that, where we don't get to see a lot of what's in there other than when somebody leaks. People said that they had the Fright Zone tooled up kind of on display. There was talk about that. So maybe, who knows, maybe this week at Toy Fair we'll start seeing something with that coming down the line.
Yeah, that's good.
Might be a neat thing to announce with their Club Grayskull. Maybe that'll push me over the edge of my $10 a year. They said, Club Grayskull, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, if they had announced it way back when, I've been all on board. Like, let's go, baby. Here's my $10. Now I'm like, really, this late? Like, what are we locking behind that paywall? What's going to piss me off? And again, it's only $10 a year. It's just more the principle of the matter at this point. But depending on what they're putting up behind there, $10. Let's face it, they're probably going to say, yeah, if you want Blade, you're going to pay $10. Oz. They're going to specifically quote that.
It's because you said you like Blade, you want Blade.
Yeah, so they're going to email me specifically and say, the only way you get Blade is if you sign up for Club Grayskull, douchebag. And then I'm going to be like, okay, here's my $10. So pushy.
Yeah, I signed up for it just because some of the only figures that I want are the laser figures. So, and I was like, oh, I bet they're gonna lock those because those are they're gonna be expensive to make. So
they're definitely gonna be more than your traditional figure, and there's a lot of unique tooling right there. And look, let's face it, we don't want to take a chance of not getting them again. So
right.
let's just face it. We're gonna go ahead and put $10 to make sure we can get any of those the final Powers of Grayskull stuff that was kind of coming out at that time.
Yeah.
But other than that, from Toy Fair, it's a lot of exciting news anytime we have Toy Fair. I mean, I remember back to when I was reading Toy Fair magazine when it was this little offshoot from Wizard, and it was always fun back then. Mind you, that was around the time Star Wars Power of the Force was just hitting shelves again way back in the day.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we got it back. It's going to be this weekend. And like I said, as much as I'm going to be enjoying ZoloCon, my eyes are going to be tied to my phone because I know we're going to get a ton of news. And yes, even though I'm going to ZoloCon, I'm still expecting to come back home that night and do a live stream for everybody. So I know there's another Kickstarter I'm going to talk up on Saturday night too, as a matter of fact. But yeah, Powers of Grayskull is first exclusive, right?
Some kind of Powers of Grayskull figure, whether that's Hero or maybe somebody said Titus. Who knows?
Well, we know it's probably not going to be King Grayskull unless Mattel wants to piss off a whole bunch of people that bought Eternia or bought King Grayskull off eBay for a crap ton of money after Eternia. So there's always that. Yeah, Fright Zone was announced for retail. At least what they were talking about it from the last show. So let's hope that continues and we do see another playset this year because it'd be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice.
Yeah.
And then Bud says, what if it's 2000X King Grayskull? Now that could, that was one of the first figures they did before. So it wasn't Club Grayskull that he was the first one on that. Adam, you'd probably know more than me because I wasn't into it at the time. So.
Oh yeah, that was the very first Classics figure that they did.
It was the very first Classics figure, not Club Grayskull.
Not Club Grayskull. Yeah, it was never. Club Grayskull was just the Filmation Super
Super 7 had taken
Mattel,
over.
and then shortly after Super
7 took it over. Right. Yeah. So. Well, Thanos is throwing out speculation of Keklar. Yeah, we're never seeing Keklar. He's not coming. He's not coming.
They could do what's her name? I'm forgetting the Archer woman who's on the.
Oh, Shirella.
Shirella, yeah.
I've been waiting for a Shirella figure for a long time too. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah.
But we all know it's really the return of Molar that we're all waiting for.
There we go. The evil dentist.
He's the true the unnamed one who King Hiss serves. It's Molar.
That's Molar.
Right. Actually, I have a feeling they're going to do a big name drop this weekend, and Nightlick's going to be back as brand manager of Motu, and the first Club Grayskull exclusive is going to be the Mighty Spectre.
With Spectre Mobile.
You didn't ask for it, but you all wanted it. Mighty Spectre. Yeah, come on now. This is, I mean, it's not as long as the Clubhouse, but come on now. We at least go. We go for a while. But yes, we're here to talk Moonman Zero, though, for sure. And, I mean, I know you kind of showed it off to us ages ago, kind of thing, is like, hey, this is a cool project that I started, way back. And it's great to see that you've got it to this point now where there's a Kickstarter. This thing's coming, and we're gonna do our damnedest to make sure that at least you can try to get the backing, get that main goal, like you said.
Yeah, it's we're to the point now that no turn. Well, there is turning back, but originally I thought as early as or as late as like 2 days ago, I was like, "There's no way I'm being able to launch this thing this weekend. There's no way. There's no way." It just wasn't. I wasn't there yet, but things have come together swiftly enough to where I was like, because I really did think about putting it off. Like, I'll be better suited mid-month, or I'll do it in April, or whatever. But I'm at the point now. It's just like, let's just. I mean, it's like, well, you've waited 17 years. What's another 2 weeks?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, well, that's because I've waited on this thing for 17 years, so I don't want to wait anymore.
Also, tomorrow's never promised, right? And
yeah, don't I know it?
Let's get that thing out there.
Yeah, so we're going for it. So we'll see if I was going to send you a page that we can put up.
Yeah, let's tease the crowd a little bit.
I'm trying to find one that doesn't really, do anything crazy over the top as far as spoiling anything.
Right.
But
well, for everybody that's watching, I did drop the link in the chat to go head on over to the Kickstarter. Make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you'll be alerted when this goes live. And yes, it looks like Skelly dropped that link because Skelly's channel made sure to stay true to form here. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And if, like I said, if things go as planned, it will be launched Sunday afternoon sometime.
So it'll be March 2nd.
Yeah, so I wanted to launch it while I was at Toy Fair because I've made little postcards about it, and I plan on handing them out at Toy Fair with QR codes so people can scan and back right there on the spot.
All right, here we go. And I like this one. Any of you Guardians of the Galaxy fans will probably appreciate this too.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked enough about
so here we are.
So this is yeah, so this is Tycho doing his surveys in an area of the moon's south pole called the Aitken Basin, which basically he passes the time by going out and doing survey. Even though we've been on the moon for a long time, there's still portions that we have not explored. And I asked some people, I was like, well, they've been on the, if by your calculations, they've been on the moon for 60 years, haven't they seen the whole thing yet? I was like, man, I live in Houston, Texas, and there are streets I've never been down. So no, they haven't seen the whole thing yet.
Yeah, it's funny. Back in the 90s, 2 television series. You had Kevin Sorbo's Hercules and Lucy Lawless in Xena, and they crossed over in a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And as a younger kid who was fans of both of these, I was like, man, how come they don't bump into each other more? Like, how big is Greece? And then my dad's like, okay, so Uncle Steve lives a half mile up the road, right? Because he did. He literally lived a half mile down the street from us. I was like, yeah. And he goes, so how often do we run into Uncle Steve when we're out and about?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah, and Baltimore, Maryland is a hell of a lot smaller than all of what was ancient Greece. I'm like, point taken. I get it. Yeah, gotcha. So I get
bonus points if anyone can name the song he's listening to.
I can't, because I was looking at it and looking at the lyrics, and I was like, I don't know this one. Can you see those well enough, Adam? I could zoom in.
I'm on my phone, so I'm always like squinting.
All right, I don't know what the tune is, so I can't. Okay, I've zoomed in too much now. I can't figure out where it's supposed to be. Hold on. There we go. All right, let me click off of this without jumping into it here. We got Smile awaiting in the kitchen, food cooking, and the plates for 2.
Don't know it.
All right, who in the chat knows? Somebody in the chat knows. Somebody at least is Googling right now.
And and stop Googling.
We want to know if you actually know. What do we got? Well, I got to figure it's. Well, see, he's playing it on a tape in a tape deck, but we're talking the 60s, right? That's when you said these guys came up here. So, well, at least that's when we visited him.
Yeah, he is. Being a former war bot, he suffers from PTSD. And one of the things that his therapist asked him to do was find something that levels his playing field, so keeps him, calm and focused. And the one thing he found that does that for him is 70s light rock, so yacht rock, more or less.
Yep, so I remember we were talking about that before. He was listening to some yacht rock.
So he listens to yacht rock on his Walkman a lot,
which is just great
because it keeps him grounded. So that's a yacht rock song. Gives that away, I guess. But it's not like the chorus, and it's pretty. I think it's from the third verse, so it's pretty obscure. It's pretty obscure. It's an obscure passage for this thing. But if you were to Google, you would find probably that "Summer Breeze" by Seals and Crofts would come up, and that's what that is.
You know what's really funny? I've been listening to Summer Breeze a lot lately, but not that version of it. I've been listening to the Typo Negative version of it, sung by Peter Steele, one of the greatest vocalists of all times.
So this is a line from the third verse of Summer Breeze by Seals and Crofts.
I'll have to pay attention the next time I'm listening to it and see if I can pick this up. And then I'm totally going to picture Tycho roaming around listening, not to yacht rock, but
to Typo Negative.
Negative. We could be jamming out the Cinnamon Girl on the Moon, bopping his head around.
That's right. So
one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. So that gives you a little bit of a taste of what the graphics are going to look like and everything as far as lettering. Well, the music's in blue. That's what the blue is for. It denotes the music, not all the text is not in blue.
Well, what I love about this is because again, I used to be a big fan of like Roman Dirge and Jonan Vasquez, who were guys that did like graphic novels like Lenore, the Lost Dead Girl, or Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, Invader Zim, as a lot of people may know from that cartoon. They had kind of this style of being out there, weird and abstract, but yet just funny and cool. And this to me, it like resonates from that, but with like a more classic sci-fi feel than like say what Invader Zim had or something on that.
Yeah. I mean, this is very much inspired by, 50s and 60s pulp sci-fi.
Yeah.
Very much inspired by my love of characters like Earthworm Jim.
Also, I can tell, I see it right over your shoulder there.
Yeah. Also, I think the Venn diagram for this thing, the original one I put together was Batman, Mars Attacks, and the Mandalorian, all kind of overlapping. And Moonman Zero is kind of the thing in the middle. I mean, we have the Mandalorian basically meaning the lone gunslinger kind of, the helmeted lone gunslinger type.
Mm-hmm.
Batman part is, there's a lot of technology going on. Plus there's a rogues gallery that pretty much is straight out of Batman 66. And then Mars Attacks is just kind of an overlying theme of, this guy's job has been to repel all of these bombardments that have been coming, for Earth before they get here and under our noses, because we have no idea what's going on.
Never had any idea. Him and Cromartie have been up there just making sure that the rest of us stay safe.
Yeah. And, this is usually I'll give you this much. Usually the way it works is they're up there on the moon. Here comes, marauder of the day. They have to meet them out in space and deal with them there and repel them back. And this is, rinse, wash, repeat kind of thing.
It's okay. I had enough of that kind of programming as a kid. I'm down for it.
With this particular time, instead of that, they track Walleye coming directly at the moon, which is different. He usually is going for Earth because he wants the nice blue planet with all the water because he's a fish.
Fish.
Yeah. But this time he's not going straight for Earth. He's coming straight to the moon. So that's kind of the hitch in the story of this particular tale. It's like, well, that's different. And I think that's actually one of the lines that Moonman Zero says. It's like, that's different. So they let him come. They figure out what the hell he's up to.
I mean, if you're going to stage an invasion, I'd say a good staging area to invade Earth would be the moon.
Yeah, you would think, but he's got plans for sure. You just have to figure out what it is he's doing. And you figure it out pretty quick when he gets there. But I try to make the story compelling enough to where I want to keep you just a little off center to where you're comfortable. Right when you get comfortable where you think everything's going, and then you're like, oh, not necessarily in a different direction, but there was like maybe an added thing that you didn't see that you're like, oh,
right.
Okay, that's interesting. Why did that happen? Or, that sort of thing. So it's, again, my first attempt at writing one of these things. So it's, and maybe it'll show, but hopefully it'll win some folks over and allow me to continue to do them. That's what I would like anyway. Because I have more stories. This particular block of stories, I guess, is one whole like if Star Wars is the trilogy or whatever, and it tells the one story. Let's pretend Star Wars is still a trilogy.
Just
and it
one.
tells, and it's one, and it explains that period. Well, I think Moonman Zero, this particular story, is about 6 books long.
Nice.
So, if this one is successful, I definitely, already have the second one pretty much outlined. And I have the beginnings of the third one outlined. But I know where it ends. And that's kind of the benefit of having written out all this stuff. Once you, unlike the new Star Wars, the latest Star Wars trilogy, that didn't know where it was going from day one. I see the finish line. I know what the last line in this whole thing is, and I know what leads up to it. I know what the penultimate scene is. I know, so it's getting to that point in a compelling fashion and telling, the story in a way to where the reader's interested in getting there too. So, like I said, hopefully this one succeeds and I can continue to tell them. Of course, if it doesn't succeed, that doesn't mean I can't keep doing them. It just means that it becomes a little harder, or it becomes less of a, I'll be compelled less to rush another
other projects
may slide up
prioritize
into the right.
A little better. Right.
The cream always rises to the top, right?
Exactly. So it's not that you want continue trying to work on putting this out. It'll be more of a, when I get some more time to that, I'll get back to that. But this I've got a priority.
And this was very much a calling, and I looked at this as kind of a calling card of my capabilities and of an introduction to the characters, because of course, as anyone who writes a story like this, you would like it to become something greater than it is.
Naturally.
You know, if someone picked it up and say, you know what, this would make a hell of an animated series. You know what? I think you're right. Or it would make, do you ever think about making a movie? No, but if you're thinking about it, we can definitely talk about it.
Right. I'm up for the conversation.
Yeah. So it's, with that in mind, like I said, I hope I've taken enough care in telling the story that it's in the very least entertaining, if not, compelling, and getting and feeding people's passions for additional stories from these guys.
Absolutely. I mean, again, every time you've come on, you've shown us little tidbits more than what you had before. And it's the progression that I've seen and that you built upon with what you've showed us. And again, folks, if you haven't seen some of our previous chats with Blake, go back and watch last week's Let's Go Off-World. Go back before that to the Clubhouse or two before that and check it out there, where we talked about it as well, and we got some snippets there. And again, 2 months back is when we had him on. I think it was 2 months back. Prior to that is when we had you right here, where we got our first reveals from this more finalized project. Or as this was into the production phase much more by then. So, guys, go check those out. Go rewatch some of those and see some.
Go back to what was it, episode? I think it was like 8 or something, where we're talking about
7
Toy
or 8.
Collector, and I totally derailed the entire.
You did, but you know what?
That entire show by mentioning Moonman Zero.
And it was like we were talking about Toy Collector and everything that was going on with that, and you happened to mention first off.
Well, someone said, "Does he have anything else going on?" It's like, well,
yeah. That's what it was. Skelly asked you about it, and you were like, well, I've been working on this college project kind of thing. And I remember, and it was like, we went almost a whole nother hour and a half, just looking at, and back then it was just like sketches. You hadn't even really had any of this, as far as where it's come from there. So, I mean, that still blows me away. That was our first night talking, our first real big conversation. And I gotta say, Blake, you really you stole the show that night for a couple of reasons. That was one of them. You made one of the most impactful statements that I've ever felt in my life, as well as just, again, introducing us to this world of Moonman Zero. And we said then we wanted to have you back on as things progressed and where you got to it. So I'm glad we were able to, get back to this and really start showing it off now where we are at. So
it's an exciting time, and I would be, I'd be lying if I would, didn't say I was nervous about the prospects when I click on the to turn the campaign on in a couple of days, because you go and you look at some of what these independent guys ask when they do these graphic novel projects. Some of the asks on these projects are very small. Very small.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, damn. It's like, why are they even asking for $1,000 or whatever? I mean, I guess every bit helps. And I guess that's a way to ensure that you get some money, because, if you get to that point. But
some of these guys may also not even know what the cost is, because, I mean, you've gone out and you've produced some things. You are an established author. You put out books.
I know what it costs to print stuff. Yeah, I mean,
you know cheap. What that's like. This is not exactly the cheapest thing. So you kind of have a little bit more of an idea where to look and get started.
And plus, the idea is not necessarily just to print what the Kickstarter sells, I need to print more because
Well, yeah, you
I'm
can't just
gonna,
print what the Kickstarter is because
yeah,
then you're out of product after that. So
yeah.
even
And
if
so
this
what's the
thing
point?
does get popular,
So
you don't have anything else.
I need to print more. I
You
mean,
got to project.
my artist needs some. I need some for the shows that we do and this, that, and the other. I want to be able to comp a few copies to important people. And, so,
That's right.
you got to print, even if I only sell, 200 of these things, I need to print 1,000 of them. So,
Right. Could you imagine, like, what if Pixel Dan only printed enough Masters of the Universe books, his book, if he'd only printed enough just for who he thought was interested in it? Like,
yeah,
that's not how
well,
this works at all. That's not how you play this game.
that would have been on Dark Horse. That would have been on Dan.
Yeah. That's exactly what that would have been.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's, I hope that, I can get somewhere between 250 and 300 backers. That's kind of the number that I'm looking at. The most successful Kickstarter I've ever done, I think I had 540 backers for Toys of Time Forgot Volume 3. I need backer numbers because my price point is much lower, is a third basically of what those
Right.
books were. So I've got to sell more and more of these things than I sold of the books in order to
Yeah.
reach my goal, which I think the goal is set at $7,500, which is basically what it's going to cost to get the volume I'm looking at printed and shipped to me. So it's
You got a
important.
backer here. So there's at least one.
There's $25 right there. That's awesome. So yeah, it's important that the word gets out and to the right people and during the campaign and pre-campaign and all this stuff. And now even Kickstarter has a way you can even pledge post-campaign, which this is something new to me with Kickstarter now.
I hadn't realized that.
Late
I had not
pledges.
seen
Yeah. Which I guess is just them trying to alleviate what backer kit's been doing to them on the back
it.
side.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I actually
Backer
thought
Kid
I
is
thought they'd
not
have
a
bought
part of.
backer kit by now, but they, for whatever reason, I guess they're just slowly integrating their own backer kit kind of thing into their system. But
For sure.
hopefully some of the covers are compelling enough to where people will buy more than one book. We're going to have that one level where you can buy all 4 covers.
That's kind of the idea, because each and every one of these covers that you put out to me, and not to be too punny, it's just been golden.
I mean, yeah, I've been the 3 that I've seen have all been exceeds expectations. I saw the very beginnings of the 4th one, but it was too soon for me to even really comment on the direction
Sure.
he's going. Like I said, I expected to see that tonight, but had not landed yet.
Yeah, I know that feeling when you're waiting for an email to come in, so you kind of keep checking.
See if it does or not. But hopefully we'll get there and it'll be just as compelling as the rest of them. That said, gentlemen, I probably need to bounce here pretty quick because
You got a big day tomorrow.
I still need to pack. I gotta get up at about 4:00 in the morning and get everything, make sure everything's solid so we can get to the airport. My plane, I think, is at 8. So we land a little before 1. By 3:00 or 3:30, I'm on a horse-drawn carriage with my wife going around Central Park. By 5:30, I'm trying to find a Supercuts to do something about this hair. And
Hey, I
then,
tell you what, swing down to Baltimore. I'll help you out.
yeah, there you go. That's basically what I'm looking for because I
Just
ran out
did
of
mine
time
today.
And then 7:30, we're going to be on the 86th floor observation deck of the Empire State Building.
That's incredible. Just incredible.
So that's my Friday. And
That's
then
a hell of a lot
Saturday,
better than what I'm doing on a Friday.
and then Saturday morning, it's once more unto the breach.
Another toy fair, more news to collect, more stories to write for the next issue, and
so toy fair coverage will be in 17, and there'll be a bunch of it. So
I was gonna say we haven't even gotten to the weekend yet, and we've already got huge news coming out.
I know.
So who knows what the rest of this weekend's going to bring. And like I said, I'm all excited to talk ZoloCon stuff. I'm excited to, again, got another Kickstarter from another friend that's going to be starting up real soon too. And we're going to be talking about that Saturday. But there's going to be a ton of news just friggin' out of Toy Fair this week. Like there's just got to be, with what's already been dropped, there's got to be more huge news to come. So,
and there's always the one or two things that you didn't see coming.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
The license switch everyone saw coming.
Yeah, stuff like that's just kind of expected.
But then you're going to be like, someone will drop a license where you're like, what? Or, a new company, pops up with something that
who's going to be the next Jada Toys to show up out of nowhere and start making action figures?
Exactly.
Hell?
I thought y'all were die-cast. Well, not anymore.
Right? You guys make cars. What is this?
They took a book out of Round 2's page. Anybody remember Round 2? I think these are the guys that ended up buying like Greenlight and a few of these other die-cast specialty companies.
Yep.
Well, Round 2 were the folks that made all of those. Were the first folks that made like those Christmas figures. So like the Peanuts Christmas figures. And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and
awesome stuff too.
The Year Without a Santa Claus. So they did it under Memory Lane, playing Mantis Memory Lane, but it was all round. It was all this Round 2 company. After, well, I shouldn't say it was. It became Round 2 after some mergers and sales and things.
Right.
But then Round 2 was like, well, we can keep doing this. So Round 2 actually made like. They made the original Frosty the Snowman line that came out. They had completely tooled and ready, or I don't know if it was tooled, but it was prototyped and ready to go. And they showed it at Toy Fair. Little Drummer Boy line that that ended up not making it to stores. But that was issue 2 of Toy Collector magazine. There, go back and find that one. It's who wrote that story about all the old Christmas figures when that was a big deal back in the, I guess it was back in the aughts, 2000s.
Right.
But there's always somebody like that pops up. So it'll be really interesting to see.
Well, always excited, of course, for new toy news, no matter what it is, where it's from. So we will all have our heads buried in the feeds, checking out that latest news, and we're all going to be excited for issue 17, Toy Collector magazine.
17.
That's where it's going to be coming. That's where you're going to get the news.
Yeah, should do a cover reveal probably somewhere around April Fool's Day. So,
will it be the actual cover? Will it not? You won't know.
That's right. You won't know. I'm just saying.
Hasbro announces Master of the Universe.
That's right.
You know what, though? That's not all.
What day is April 1st?
That's not all.
April 1st is a Tuesday. Yeah, I can make that work.
Oh, that would work. It'd be a Mo Tuesday, too. Oh, man.
There you go.
Sold the next.
I'm already planning it. All right, guys. Hey, thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Blake, thank you for joining us. Guys, everybody, make sure the link is in the chat here. Go to Kickstarter, Moonman Zero graphic novel. Guys, hit that notification. Get ready for this Sunday. $25 issue pledge. That's one book.
Actually, if you're early enough, it's just 20. I think the first 50, there's an early bird lot of 50 books for $20. So there you go.
All right. So hopefully my whole 4 issues all covers will be 80.
All those to be gone by the end of the first day. Is my hope. So there you go.
I'll be spamming people with it.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Blake. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Take care. Guys, always great to have Blake here joining us. I don't exactly have to rush off of here, Adam. I know we talked about holding off on a Battle Ram report because we're going to let Blake steal the stage today. But
yeah, and I didn't prep anything.
yeah, I don't know. I guess we could talk about. Let's face it, we know what the fans want. The fans want us to talk about Motu because we're probably some of the most passionate people about Motu out there. And there's been quite a bit of Motu news. I mean, I guess it's not a lot of news. It's more Mattel overall news with Club Grayskull and that merger with DC. But I don't know, man. What do you feel about the return of Club Grayskull? How do you feel about this subscription? Do you think it's going to help accelerate maybe the timetable that we're going to get some of this stuff?
I hope so. I mean, I know like they've been kind of slow walking the end of the vintage stuff, but maybe I mean, there's a lot more they could do with it. That's kind of vintage besides cartoon. That's not a toy, not a vintage toy. It's not a cartoon. There's all kinds, like they could do mini comic characters. They could do other concept characters.
Well, they've already kind of confirmed that we're going to be getting more of the sketchbook. So like I know they've shown like sketchbook, Triclops sketchbook, Spikor. They've kind of thrown those out there, so like that's something that we might be able to see. And man, dude, that'd be sick. Sketchbook style Spikor. Oh man, I'd be down for that. I'd be really down for that because we have never had anything like that.
It'd be interesting to see how they'd handle it because he's got a tail, as I recall, and he's I don't know.
The spikes are a little bit more droopy, like longer quills than like actual spikes, like what he is.
Like how would that get engineered?
Yeah, the sculpting would definitely be different on that, and that. Either way, that's exciting. Like as soon as they announced the sketchbook line with, Hordak and Grizzlor, I was like, this was not something I expected at all. And then the question is sketchbook only going to be Mark Taylor's sketchbook, or are we going to see, because Axel has teased quite a bit too, like talking about finishing up his designs for the different Snake Men of the faction. He goes, I know people have been saying they're a little tired of it, but do you want to see the rest of these come out? Naturally, I'm all over that post. Like, oh God, give me the rest of them.
He's got other stuff too that's not Snake Men.
It's not Snake Men.
And Hans Hammerholder and Goldenrod and other stuff.
Goldenrod he did put in the Snake Men faction, even though it's not. Yeah, it's not necessarily a snake, kind of like how Blast Attack himself is not a snake, but he was lumped in with the Snake Men and Goldenrod of that ilk. But like the Dark,
but at least he doesn't look like it, right?
Right, he doesn't look like a snake, and it's kind of like the same thing with like the Dark Wizard, who's just like a couple of reused parts from Skeletor. That's a snake. He's part of the Snake Man fashion, but I'd like to see him on his own. Right? Yeah. So I mean, like that would be really, really cool. And yeah. Bud's saying here, right on the box with the Grizzlor and the Hordak is the concept Skeletor with like the crown and stuff. Like it would be nice to see that version of Skeletor come out.
Now, if they do that one, I'm hoping that they don't just pop off and do it, because that technically that doesn't belong to them. That's from Mark Taylor's college. It's a drawing he did in college, right? So I would hope they would coordinate with Rebecca on that one.
I hope she would see some money from all of this in some way, shape, or form of royalty, but who knows with what Mattel does. Thanos says, I would like to have more info and perks on initial sign up. Thanos, I got to tell you, that's my whole thing with a lot of what they've done. They have, and Thanos knows because this was mentioned in a chat between him and I earlier today, to bringing up about Mattel's communication. They have not been the best at communicating exactly what it is they're doing or how it's going to work, or even after they started something. Like, go all the way back to the fan vote. They're like, we're going to have a fan vote. And we're like, cool, a fan vote. They've done that before, like Fans' Choice, Mini Comic Triclops, or Prince Keldor. You know, it's like, cool. You're going to get like 1 or 2 choices. And they're like, here's 4 choices, pick 2. And well, damn, that's really odd. And look at what that did. It kind of skewed that result majorly. Like we've discussed many times.
Yeah.
There were people like me who the snake layer was like my first choice. And then there was a whole lot of other people that were like, oh man, I want the attack track. And yeah, it'd be cool if the snakes had a base. Or, hey, I want the fright zone. And it'd be cool if the snakes had a base.
Right.
Like, you know, so like I think there was a lot of skewing of the numbers there, and it definitely leaned it in a certain way. And I don't know if they knew that was going to be exactly how that went, or if they kind of thought it might go that way to get what they wanted to get out of it. But either way, the Skeletor day, right? Like, you know, the year of Skeletor, and it was like we had one day with some half-assed media campaign that really didn't do anything, and it was like, yeah, way to go. Heck, we didn't even get the announcement for the, you know, retro Skeletor until they tacked it on with a whole retro line for the figures. It's like, no, you could have just announced Skeletor by himself and we all would have been happy and really appreciated that, like you did with the 40th anniversary He-Man figure.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so Mattel has not been the best on communicating their ideas and what they're doing. So I'm hopefully we get more info as time goes on. It seems that they've got like a really good idea of a base outline of what offerings the $10 a year is going to cost. And again, guys, it's $10 a year. It's not huge. You know, I was thinking it was like $10 a month, which I'm like,
right.
They have not had $10. There's been nothing Mattel Creations that has made me feel I need to pay an extra $10 a month for, unless it guarantees me that I'm not going to have that crap yanked out of my basket right at checkout. Like, there's nothing that has been $10 to me worth $10 additional a month. Because now my $20 Origins figure I'm buying off of Mattel Creations is costing me 30 plus shipping because of my $10 a month for that.
Right.
$10 a year really is not that bad.
Yeah, that was enough for me. Even though, like, you know, I'm not like a Origins collector. Like, I only get it. Like, I got Demo Man because it's an early Mark Taylor thing. That's it.
Yeah.
For me. But it was just like, okay, let's see what you can do with this.
$10 a year, and you don't know what's going to come. Like, you may not have loved everything that came before, but you have no idea what's to come from this. What else is going to come down this line? So it's almost worth the $10 a year. So you pay it now, you're probably going to forget about it by the time it's up for renewal next year. So why not? Right? Like,
I don't think, I don't think it's actually, it doesn't auto renew. Like when I did it, you just pay for a year.
But maybe they're not sure if they're going to continue it a year from now.
Right? Yeah, who knows? But the only ones that I care about that they still haven't made that I kind of really want to get are basically the 88 stuff, because I can't afford the vintage versions of those. So
nope. But I don't want them cheaping out though on shoot, now I can't even, the Megator Titus. Like, I don't want them skipping out and putting them on the Andre the Giant buck.
No,
like
I wouldn't bother with that.
I want the Giant, because those things were massive. They were way bigger than the 5.5-inch figures. And
they should have rooted hair. They should look very similar to the originals.
I don't know if I really want them to have rooted hair.
That's what I want.
I ain't gonna complain if they've got rooted hair.
They could have 2 heads, like one rooted, one.
I'll go with that. I'll go with the 2 heads, because I doubt I would ever display it with the rooted hair, just because I don't know. There's something. Megator especially was a certain kind of ugly.
Oh yeah, he's ugly. He's like a gremlin beats a troll doll, or who knows. But but that's okay. That's just, for me. It's just like, I want to look out the corner of my eye and fool myself into thinking I've got the vintage version. That's basically it.
Exactly. Just that little extra so you can feel like you completed it. Like, shoot, I think it'd be great if we got each of the dinosaurs, right? Like I want the Preternia dinosaurs. This was something that a buddy of mine had as a kid. And honestly, up until like a couple years later, when I actually saw one in box, I didn't believe him when he was telling me his Turbodactyl was a He-Man toy. I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no dinosaurs in He-Man. And then it was like, oh, wait, that really was a He-Man toy. Okay, cool. And of course, by then it was like, even in the early 90s and stuff like that you could not find. First off, it was just super rare because had to come from Canada down to the US basically for us to get it, because it wasn't something that was really here in the States. And even then it was always in the back of the flea market from that dude with the Collectr toy booth kind of thing, who was only asking like $100 for it in like 1992. And it's like, yeah, okay, $100 in 92 for a toy, never gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
So it's exciting to see what we could get from a new Club Grayskull. Also, just the thing about Matty Collectr first popped up, the first Club Grayskull popped up. This subscription idea for stuff was kind of new, right? Like Loot Crate was just kind of really still becoming a thing. You didn't have all these ads for stuff like Bespoke Box, or I mean, I used to sign up for what was called the Daily Shave Club kind of thing or whatever, where it was like you get a box each month. I know I had a roommate that had one for like dog stuff. Dawn used to be, it was literally called like a Crazy Cat Lady one, because of her cats that she had and all like that. She was part of that. So like these subscription monthly boxes have kind of become a thing, and like Matty Collectr and Club Grayskull were all kind of like early predecessors of what that kind of became at that time.
Yeah.
So that format has been refined a lot now. And again, even though it is not a monthly subscription, this is an annual subscription to it. Just some of the perks they talked about is pretty cool. Like getting priority in the queue, like exclusive buys strictly for Club Grayskull members.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. And again, it's a little bit different from like Hasbro Pulse, but who even knows what Hasbro Pulse is going to be coming up soon if they're getting away from doing toys like they are. Signing up for that. So getting that Hasbro premium. I don't know. And Allison, I know she was mentioning before that they already do this for stuff like Barbie, for Hot Wheels. So they've got a format that they know can work for this. It's not like they're trying to figure out how to do a crowdfund for something and they're not sure whether it's going to work or fail. Mattel does not have the best track record when it comes to their crowdfunds. So this, I think, will work a lot better for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I mean, it was cheap enough that, like, okay, you have my attention. Let's see what you do with it.
Yeah, when I was first reading it this morning and it was leaking out of the UK, I was like, oh, this is how they're going to come up with how they can manage to afford shipping costs to all these countries around the world. Have everybody sign up for Club Grayskull. I mean, hey, if it's going to help our friends in other countries actually get stuff from Mattel, as opposed to them just being like, oh, yeah, global shipping? That's not a thing anymore. Like even if that's all this was just to really help them get back to that global shipping that they seem to have had issues with the past couple of years. That would be enough, honestly. If they were to come out and say, hey, we're looking for everybody to help so that we can do the shipping, they'd probably get a lot of backlash for it. But if they were asking me $10 for a year just so I can make sure friends over in New Zealand or, in Australia could have an easier time getting these toys than trying to order and do some kind of craziness or even get one of us to, get the toy for them and then try to ship it to them and then get it sent back to us because apparently we didn't label it right. And then ship it back out to them. And then it goes up into China and parades around Southern Asia before eventually getting back across the water to our friends in New Zealand. True story that happened with somebody's Moss Man.
Yeah. I sent something. I have a friend in Serbia. I sent him something. it ended up somewhere in Africa for a while, for like a month.
Right? Like just gets stuck somewhere.
Yeah. And then it
like,
came back.
Yeah, like it gets tracked to this country and then you get no word on it. And you're just kind of like, oh crap, do I have to write that off now and try to do this again? Or will it show up? And you pray that it shows up, and sometimes it does, but not all the time.
Right, yeah.
So there's definitely an instance where, like, again, if their idea for Club Grayskull was just to alleviate that in some way, I'd be like, let's do it. I'd have signed up for it today. I don't get paid until tomorrow. I would have put my account in the negative today, but I would have done it because I would have been like, yes, let's give people some more toys, because that's what it's all about, man. Putting happiness in people's hands.
Yeah. Oh, so what do you have any predictions for this weekend? What we're going to see?
I don't know. My mind's kind of blown with what's trying to process the little bit of news that we got. Mind you, I was not expecting the news that we got. So, like, if you were going to tell me, like, what are you expecting to come from this weekend? And I was going to say Mattel got the DC license back. That was not on the bingo card anywhere. It had kind of been rumored, but, well, guess what? I've heard so many freaking rumors that I just don't believe anything that I hear. Until I see an official report from somewhere, I just don't care, because there's tons of rumors out there. It's kind of put me off from listening to this stuff until, like, there's some concrete info. So it's a little tough to gauge, but I know, like, we're talking with Blake right before the show. I don't know if it'll be announced now or if it'll be later in the year. But I definitely think, because Hasbro's already announced that they're moving towards video games and then licensing out their IPs. So we may hear some more about that, like who's going to pick up certain licenses from them. I don't know if we're actually going to hear 100% that they're not going to be handling, I'll say, the Disney license overall, because Marvel and Star Wars being their two biggest lines from Disney that they handle.
Right.
I don't know if they're both going to end up in one place, like if Disney's going to put it all in one basket, or if they're going to set it down with several different toy companies to kind of eat up that pie. But Hasbro making more of an announcement about what their idea is moving forward, if they're not going to be in the toy game as we know it, I think would be a big deal. And again, them just pushing out these last couple announcements, like they just did the Spider Gamerverse for the Spider-Man video games. That was pretty cool, seeing that wave. And again, that's all got to come out in the next year. Like, all that's got to come out. If they're going to be losing that license, they've got a limited window where whatever they have on the books, they're going to kind of still put out, and then there's not going to be anything. So if you're a Marvel Legends collector, guys, it might be time to really start looking and investing in whatever their latest ones out are. I know that means I got to go run out and get that Scarlet Spider that I pre-ordered from Helidope last year that I'm never sure is going to arrive. Honestly, I pre-ordered it last April. It's still not here, and just about everybody else got theirs. It's been on back order this whole time from their distributor. I don't think I'm going to see it from them. So I'm probably just going to move those funds over to something for Horseman related and buy it from a third party somewhere. Same thing with that Kane figure that they just released with Marvel Legends. Not a lot of people were big fans of the Clone Saga. I kind of enjoyed it, mostly because the artists that they had working around it, like Mark Bagley and Tom Lyle, some of the greatest artists for Spider-Man, in my opinion. So I was really drawn into a lot of the story, even if it was kind of weird. But I want to get some of those figures when I can. But it's tough to say, because again, there's going to be some of the bigger players that I'm keeping my eye on these days, or like some of the all-stars that are coming out. They're not going to be there. Whereas who knows what little guy is going to show up out of nowhere and steal the show. I know last year, talking about Syndicate collectibles at it was at San Diego when they announced that they were going to be doing the True Romance line, and they had announced that they were going to do their Howling Werewolf and everything like that. And I was like, oh man, who are these guys? These look great. They did the Goosebumps announcement where they were going to be doing the Goosebumps line. I was like, these guys look great. They look cool. And I mean, mind you, I've still liked everything I've seen so far from them. But when they just put out those promo shots, their version of the Howling Werewolf, and when we compared that with the NECA Howling Werewolf, yeah, that took the wind out of my sails for a lot of Syndicate collectibles, because it just like, wow, it's like, okay, so here's the NECA version, and then here is the Wish.com version. Like, it was that much of a difference to me.
Right.
And I just didn't like it. And the price that they were asking for theirs versus the price NECA's asking, like, I got to go with NECA on this one. So it's going to be interesting to see who these little guys that nobody's expecting are going to be. What about you? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit divorced from news. Like, I've been focusing on my own stuff. So I kind of, like, in the background of my head, I've like seen, or like just really quickly scrolled by like rumors like, oh, in Germany, but I don't remember. So I I could just guess like what I want to see, but um, maybe we'll see Blast Attack at the show.
He's one of the last few actual snake men that we need.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm always kind of in the mood to get another one of those guys. Even though for me, Blast Attack never really did it for the snake men for me. I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, he's I mean, he could be an evil warrior or a snake man, but he's
right. Yeah, he's generic enough. Right.
He's so I don't know. Like, I kind of like his look, and I kind of don't. Like,
I like his look, but then, like, I don't know. You watched Revelation. That is the dumbest villain ever.
Yeah.
I'm about to blow up. I've got to turn myself off for blowing up. Oh crap! The bad, the good guys disabled my hand, and now I can't keep myself from blowing up. Oh crap! Boom! Now we're all dead. Who the hell wants that on their team? Like, that is the definition of the kid you pick last at sports.
Right. Yeah.
You do not want that guy on your team.
I just here we go. Here's your Blast Attack.
Yeah. And Allison says it right here too. He was one of the last vintage figures we got. He was silly but fun, and that's it, right? He's silly, and he's fun, but again, by far, this is like the guy you think the good guys would send into the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like right. Go to the bad guys and blow up and handle that. Well, I guess that wouldn't be a really heroic thing to do, but
right. I guess yeah. The only thing that would be interesting is if they made it actually his feature actually work, and you could have one that
it was
worked.
spring loaded.
Yeah, but like, because the vintage one, if you try to actually play with it, like the his gold plastic, he's got that syndrome where it shatters if you are not super careful. So
he was fun for a while, but yeah, any of that kind of stuff like the gold plastic from back then, that it just did not. Basically, he wasn't around for very long before he was disintegrated enough you couldn't really play with him much anymore.
Right. And that's, his action feature in real life is kind of like, it happens. It makes sense that it would happen to him, I guess. He blows up for real.
Right. And yeah, that's it. Allison says he's one of the few figures that need an action feature to actually work. It would be nice to get, like, again, that action. Little spring button. Mm-hmm. I mean, heck, we had it with the Horde Trooper, right? The Horde Trooper could blow apart.
Sure. Yeah.
What's up with all these generic bad guys? We're just going to blow them up. And they can still get reused arms and legs. Absolutely. Like we said, we already mentioned we wouldn't mind seeing a Goldenrod. You could definitely use those. I mean, I think Goldenrod just has like Roboto arms and legs. But hey, why not change it up a little bit?
I think even Great Black Wizard or whatever, he's got plastic boots or something like that.
You're right. It might be that. His boots might be that.
Yeah.
Either way, that is definitely one I'd like. I'd like to see them announce when they're going to be putting out Dragstore. This is She-Ra's 40th anniversary. Supposed to be Year of the Horde. Let's see it, guys.
Actually, that's a good point. They should be announcing some more She-Ra figures, like specifically some Great Rebellion figures, right?
Cartoon collection. Come on, guys. Let's step it up here. We've had cartoon collection She-Ra, Hordak, Frosta, Catra, which, by the way, that Catra figure is really, really awesome. The one Cobb's got's a little strange, though, man. Whew, very revealing comparatively to the normal Catra. Cobb probably hasn't posted those pictures publicly.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, he's sent me some stuff. He's having fun. Voltac. Well, he's not Horde anyway, but no, he is. Voltac was Horde.
Yeah, he's Horde. He's
Horde. Sorry, I was thinking Batra when I was thinking bat symbol, but not Horde.
Right.
So, here we go. Thanos says Cobb has the best version.
they could do Madame Raz and Broom. That'd be fun.
Madame Raz, Broom, and Cal is a 3-pack. Come on, just give it the whole thing. Give it a 3-pack. Kind of make it like the Cringer and Prince Adam 2-pack, but make it just a 3-pack of those smaller characters. Throw Imp in there too. Why not?
There you go.
Boom. Had the whole 4-pack of the smaller characters, and then charge us like $40 for it, because we know they're not going to charge us the same amount as a normal figure for that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it had to up charges, but at least make us feel like it's $10 per little figure. Whatever. Come on, Mattel. We're giving you the ideas on a silver platter. No, I know you're not supposed to take ideas from fans, but it's not like you haven't before. I don't need the credit for it. Just do it. Put it out there. We want the shit. Give it to us. Oh, somebody posted earlier today. Did a little tease with the Crystal Palace. Right? And they were like, yeah, here's a little tease for the Crystal Palace. And I'm like, with all the other stuff that was Mattel going on, I was like, oh shit, did they really? And then I saw it was from one of the 3D, printer guys. Not Yurko, but one of the other ones. And I was like, you son of a bitch, you almost had me. I got real excited for a minute. Well, because that would be cool. Last of the grand play sets, the bigger play sets we have, Snake Mountain, Eternia, Castle Grayskull. It's the last big play set for the line. Is the Crystal Palace, and I'm down for it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, let's see here. Allison says, my guess is Mattel Creations, Cartoon Collection, Voltac, Origins, Dragstore, Princess of Pop. Hey, why not? Make them dance. Princess of Power, Vintage Style, Someone, Stone-Dar, and Dial-A-Mug. Dial-A-Mug's not even on my radar right now, but hey, why not?
Sure.
Talk about your weird looking figures, man. Oh, someone's selling that 3D printed Hell Skull.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw somebody they painted it like with Skeletor colors. But I think which is good, but I like, to me, like, you should paint the wings on it like copper for like a New Adventures kind of vibe, like get the metallics in there, because that thing seems very New Adventures-y.
I'd be down for that. Yeah, that'd be something. And based on trademark registrations recently-ish, there you go. Allison's always keeping track of that good stuff. Man.
Yeah, she's a good researcher. She's on it.
She's been working for Jay for Geek Dad Life, helping them out do a bunch of research lately and all, which is really cool. If you guys are catching that, if you guys aren't following, I haven't been watching Geek Dad Life as much as I used to, but I do try to catch those when I can, just because I know Allison's involved. So, but it's going to be an exciting time, and I think I know Mattel likes to do their own thing like March or April. I was hoping to think they were doing that because Toy Fair moved to later in the year, and then Toy Fair just didn't happen last year, that Mattel was kind of doing their own thing. This year, I am thinking that hopefully we'll start seeing a lot of those kind of reveals where they would dump all that info on us with whatever picture they would reveal. I'm hoping we actually get a straight up, like announcement this weekend.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Thanos says he painted his silver, his Hell Skull. Nice choice. Starship Hell Skull, but it's just an angry Mega Maid from Spaceballs. Hey, that could work, right? Right? Why not?
Sure.
Ooh, Nordor. Go ahead and get us that playset, please. I'm going to make my debut on the podcast later this year for something not yet announced. And it's not Pop. Okay. Nice. Yeah, and the face is the pearlescent white, which is really a good choice, by the way, Thanos. I dig that. Yeah, Masterverse scale Nordor. I mean, I wasn't asking for all that, but hell yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
Giant skull-shaped planet. Like, as cool as Castle Grayskull is, again, with the effigy of a skull in the rock and everything like that, that's where a Masterverse scale Nordor, it's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I love Nordor. Nordor is like the best.
It was definitely one of the coolest parts of New Adventures. Honestly, all the play sets. Starship Eternia was really cool with the modularity. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It just always seemed there was something cool to do with those. Even the modularity with the vehicles themselves as well.
Right, like the Astro Sub and the what's Skeletor's little
yeah. There was just a lot of different. Again, it wasn't as pop and swap as say Origins isn't all like that, but like connecting like the different things to like the walker and everything like that they had. That was a cool feature that I enjoyed. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of why I like it so much now as I've gotten older with stuff like, again, Origins with the pop and swap, Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions with their pop and swap stuff. It's a lot of fun to play around with this stuff like that. And I'm glad that we're seeing more of it. It's funny, like the way it's done for certain toy lines, like the Ninja Turtles one, I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of. The one with the Marvel stuff, I'm not as big a fan of. And I don't know if it's because maybe there's not enough like generic pieces for those to appeal to me. It's like, oh, look, you could put Wolverine's arm on Spider-Man's body. Yeah, cool. Those are two completely different characters that really don't mix. Whereas, like, I don't know. I like to build a lot of stuff with the Mythic Legions and with Origins. Like, I can see customs in my head of how it should look and how I should do it.
Right.
And it's because, again, some of the pieces are just more generic. Like, anytime I'm actually looking at buying a whole toy because I want, like, one or two individual pieces from it, I mean, that says something right there. I got 3 Lady Slithers just because of her parts library alone with the tail.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not using her for much else. it's tail. I wanted that.
Yeah. That's like what's that? The Spawn Sandsker that everybody and their uncle bought just to make customs of He-Man figures with a snake tail.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That was exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly it. And that was just what I was doing. And then, of course, it was like, oh, well, here's this mutated merman, which has a modified version of that tail. Who else did they put out with the tail? Necroconda. They gave Necroconda the tail.
Yeah.
We've got the new Shredder from Turtles of Grayskull. They gave him the tail. So it's like they definitely got their use out of that tail in a very short amount of time.
And I'm waiting for, I don't know if this has been done, but I'm waiting for somebody to do a custom like G.I. Joe Globulus using that tail.
I'm surprised I haven't seen that yet, right? Like, I know McFarlane, yeah, again, like using the snake tail from that McFarlane toy or whatever. I've seen people do that and kind of make it, but you're right, I have not seen it from well, again, with just that piece being with Lady Slither, and Lady Slither was a Mattel Creations exclusive, I guess a lot of people weren't rushing. Like I said, I bought 3 immediately just because. It was like,
Yeah.
I want 3 of those snake tails because I want to play around with some stuff. Don't know how I'm going to look at it or where I'm going to end with it. And to be honest with you, now that I've been seeing snake face pop up at Target, honestly thought about buying another snake face for that head sculpt and kind of making like a Medusa style figure. Of course, the only problem is like that male head and then trying to make like a Medusa, like a female body. I don't know if it's going to fit just right or work, but I don't know.
The snake face, that's worth picking up. I picked that up too, just because I need to rebuy the vintage figure. If you ever tried to buy a vintage snake face complete, he's so expensive.
I don't have one complete, but I have the figure.
Yeah. But if you just get the figure, it's not so bad. And then you can just swap the accessories.
Yeah. And I've got snake face from the origin. Naturally, it was one of the snakes that came out. So I was all about it. Yeah. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot since I've been seeing them pop up at Target. And you know what's funny? I thought I picked up a Dragon Blaster Skeletor. I don't think I did, though. And that's the other one that's been popping up at Target. So I'm thinking I might have to grab him too, just to make sure that I do have him. Yeah. I still wish they'd kind of went Ricky the Steamboat style from Masters of the WWE Universe with the dragon as its own separate piece. But hey, at least it squirts, which is more than I could say for Cobra Con.
Right.
And David Byers saying, love Snakeface. You know, as a kid, I didn't care for him as much, and I don't know why. But as I got older, he's one of the ones I like the most. That was kind of why I like on the concept art for the Snake Layer, like his face being on there. Like, I didn't think he was that important, but okay, you know. But having his face on the outside of that thing, I'm like, sure, that makes sense. It scares everybody and turns them to stone. Why wouldn't you put that there? Scare everybody away before they even show up.
Well, he's like in 2002 when the Snake Men show up, like he's so overpowered, like he turns everybody to stone
immediately.
So they have to like get him out of the picture immediately to make it like fair.
They did. They really had to, yeah. And I could see why he would definitely be a more powerful Snake Man. Like why he is like some kind of evil that you would seal away very quickly.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? Honestly, we hit just about 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is about average for the show here. I think it's about time to call it quits. Adam, what you got cooking on the books? Any new articles coming down the line?
I'm finishing up. I did a series on the gift sets of Masters of the Universe, so just cataloging all of those because I've been meaning to do that forever. So I'm finishing up the U.S. ones, and then I'm going to do one more on like the Canadian and European ones, which is another story. And then I've got to do after that probably I'll do the meteors, something about the meteors.
So. We don't like to talk about the meteors very much. More transforming rocks. Way to go.
Yeah.
But it's that time that Transformers made it into Masters of the Universe, guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's basically less cool Rock Lords is kind of what they are.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Way less cool Rock Lords.
Right. But, I haven't covered them yet, so got to do it.
Yeah, they got to make it. They've got to be documented. We got to record that history. Otherwise, some people may forget that those were actually things. So it's important to chronicle that.
Yep.
Well,
what do you got going on?
Oh, geez. Naturally. Well, surprisingly, tomorrow night I may not be on Let's Go Off-World. However, for anybody who's been watching that, watching me and all like that, check it out tomorrow night. They're going to be talking about, again, a lot of the news that was dropped with DC getting put over back at Mattel, as well as Club Grayskull. They're going to be talking big Four Horsemen news, of course, with the announcement of when it's not a Kickstarter, but when they are going to start their crowdfund for the Rise the Order of Barathir Rises. So that's going to start March 7th. So 1 week, and that's exciting. They're going to announce more details when it actually launches, but they're going to go over that news tomorrow night. And of course, you guys can catch us this Saturday night at the clubhouse where we'll be hanging out. I'm going to be opening up my ZoloCon hall. A lot of people to stop by, a lot of people to visit and hang out with while we're there, as well as pick up some cool toys. I will say, though, the Four Horsemen did say they were not going to be bringing their Necronominus wave figures to the show because they are still shipping out their pre-orders for this wave. So this wave had a massive amount of pre-orders because they've been shipping several weeks now. It took me several weeks to get mine. And the retailers, theirs were street dated for yesterday. So those are going to be going out. So you can definitely go ahead. Catching us Saturday night in the clubhouse. You'll see what I pick up from ZoloCon, as well as here's any adventures and stories that were there. And then coming up next week,